Hi everyone, my name is Gladys Famoriyo, and I'm going to be talking to you about never giving up. So the session today is about never giving up. And most of you know, in terms of what I do, I'm an author, I'm a coach. I'm passionate about helping people fulfill their life purposes and their callings. I'm also passionate about hearts and souls, and I have a number of books that I've written over the years which help people deal with that. So one of those books is Quit Hiding, Start Living. You can probably see that there. It supports, Overcoming Emotional Baggage, a woman's guide to living the abundant life. And also, another thing that another book I've written is Quit Hiding, Start Living. Here's the real one, helping you, women in particular, deal with past hurts. Now, another one of my babies is Healing a Discouraged Heart, getting back on track when life lets you down. Now, today's session really is going to be focused on this book, which you can see in the background. It might be flipped the other way around, but it's actually Bounce Back: How to Survive, Thrive and Maximize Challenging Life Situations. So as I said, today's all about dealing about never giving up. And I'm going to be looking at helping you, providing you some principles to help you learn to bounce back and achieve your goals. So if that's what you want to do, you're in the right place. And it's great to see some people, Barbara, and a whole raft of other people. Great to have you on board. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, hopefully you'll get something great out of this session today. Now, I'm going to be talking really about my personal experiences. Now, as you probably know, I've been a life coach, mentor, and someone who's key focused about developing women for a number of years. So I've done that for about 2 decades now. And one of the things that I've started to notice in my time when it comes to women in particular, actually men, it's the same thing for you as well, but but this is just from my experiences. I discovered that there's so many of us who actually start our life goals or start projects or whatever it is, but not many of us finish those projects. So some of us may start and some of us may not finish those projects. Some of us may actually be passionate about it. So it's not as if you didn't have the enthusiasm or the motivation to do it, but you started it, but somehow or the other you found yourself not completing that goal for whatever reason that's happened in your world. Well, if that's where you're at today, you're in the right place. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you some tips or principles that I've used personally in my own life, not just to do the things that I do, such as writing books. Most of you know I write books and I write them very quickly in a matter of days, few weeks, but they're done. But really it's about what can we do as individuals to keep ourselves motivated so that we never give up on our goals and our desires, and so that we keep going and pursuing the things that are really important to us. So that's what today's really about never giving up. Now, as I said earlier on, it's really about using some of my experiences that I've used when I'm working with women in particular. But guys, don't tune out. This again is for you, okay? So it's about never giving up. So let's jump in here and let's crack on. Again, it's great to see some people. Joseph, Christy, great to have you on board. I'm hoping you get something out of this session, just like all the other sessions as well. But let's crack on. So what does it take to make one's goal a reality, and how not to give up on your personal dreams and goals? That's what we're going to be looking at here today. Now, key thing I just wanted to start off with by mentioning is the fact that when it comes to a goal in life, there is a price to pay. Now, unless you're willing to not just pay the deposit, but pay the full price, it's not going to happen. So there is a price to pay, and you're going to need to decide if you're willing to pay that price. Now, as we go along this journey, I'll show you what I call principles to support you in terms of how to pay that price and make sure that you are achieving your personal goals as you desired. But before I jump in, let me just start with my story. Now, I started, I particularly put this particular post up, should I say, well, Facebook Live session, simply because an achievement I achieved recently. Now, some of you may have seen the post, but just last month I cycled 80 miles on the hottest day of the year, to date for a long time, and just to give you a bit of background, I had not cycled prior to that. As in, when I say not cycled, what I had done is a year before, I didn't know how to cycle. I didn't own a road bike. I knew nothing, okay? Didn't know how to ride on a bike, didn't know anything at all. But here I was a year down the line and doing 80 miles. And, in fact, if I go a step backwards, here are some of the medals that I've actually gotten in that first year. Now, in the first year, remember, I hadn't had a bike. Now, in the first year, as soon as I got my bike, within 4 weeks, I registered for the London to Brighton. Yay! Talk about baptism of fire. Why I did that? 4 weeks owning your first bike, learning how to ride, and then I threw myself in the deep end, 56 miles. It took me about 6 hours to get there, but you know what? I got there in the end. So that was medal number one. And then I think another one I did was the Just Racing one, which is the equivalent of the 80 miles I did before, but I did the 40-mile one. Here's the proof to say I won, and I got that medal. And then, as if that wasn't enough, last year, again, a new beginner, haven't ridden before, I decided to do the Prudential 46 miles, okay? So here's my medal for that one, okay? By the way, I am actually doing the Prudential 100 in a less than 4 weeks time, so please pray for me. But I'm doing the big brother of this one in about 4 weeks time. Hence, I've got the t-shirt on. As you can see, I'm cycling for British Heart Foundation, so I'm going to be asking for sponsorship, so please sponsor me. But why am I talking about all of this? Well, the reason why I'm doing all of this is because it started off with an idea that I wanted to achieve something, but I just didn't know how I was going to do that. Now, remember, as I said, I was somebody who didn't own a road bike, much less knew how to ride one. Okay, and that's where I was around, May, June last year, May actually last year. But I then decided, I remember looking at, I think I was in South Africa at the time, and I knew there was a big race at the time. I can't remember if it was the coast to coast ride, but there was a coast. And in my mind, I thought, when I grow up, I'm going to do that. Well, that was about, I don't know whether that was about 10 years ago, but it was something I wanted to do. But you know what? Until something happened, nothing changed. That was about 10 years ago, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, but it was a long time ago. I wanted to cycle. I saw these people cycling, and I thought, when I grow up, as we say, I want to do that. But for some reason, because I hadn't turned that wish list into what I would call a desire and then set of actions, nothing happened. So there was a big void, no cycling, no goals achieved, and so on and so forth. But, I think last year I was in a place where, I was in a strange place. In fact, not last year, the year before, between 2015 and 2016, was in a strange place. I was quite stressed out. I was burnt out. I was, most of you know, I've been on the road and doing a lot of things for a number of years, speaking, teaching, worldwide. I'd been a consultant for many years, traveling the world. Everybody thought it was a jet-setting job, but gradually it was wearing me out. There were so many things I was doing. I was overweight, by the way. I was a size 14 in 2015. I used to be a plus-size lady, lost a lot of weight, and then gradually it came back up again. And I decided, I'm going to do something about this. And I brought back to life my dreams of cycling as a way of trying to get fit and de-stress myself. And that's how it all started. So that's where I was coming from when it comes to this idea about cycling. So for me personally, as I said, stressed out, burnt out, overweight, probably unhealthy, and a whole raft of other things. But I decided I was going to do something about it. Now, remember, I said I had no cycling experience. I did nothing whatsoever. So how did I move from last year of 0 to 80 miles. In fact, in about 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to be 100 miles a race that I'm going to be doing. How do you move from zero to what I call hero in such a short period of time? Those are the principles I'm going to be sharing with you today. So just hang on in there and just, bear with me as I use my cycling analogy plus my professional and personal experiences to support you in terms of never giving up and how to bounce back and achieve your lifelong goals or whatever your desires are. So as I said, by the way, in terms of the cycling, most of you probably heard of horror stories, cyclist injured, cyclist killed, blah, blah, blah. So all of that was going on in my mind, cycling. Again, I didn't even know the parts of the cycle. I didn't even know bikes had gears. Duh. I didn't know anything about that at all. But somehow or the other, as I said, I moved from zero to hero. So let's look at how we did that. So I'm going to be sharing with you today, I'm just going to dive in and share with you the 5 principles that worked for me, and I believe that can also work for you. But once again, I want to say shout out to people who are joined in, Jackie, Michael, and a whole raft of other people. Thank you for joining. I'm talking about how to never give up. And I'm going to be sharing with you from my personal and professional experiences of how I achieved that through some of my cycling experiences. Hitesh, it's great to have you on board. One of my cycling mentors and gurus. Great to have you on board. Okay, so the first thing is principle number 1. So if you're writing anything down, call this your bounce back pioneer principles. Okay, so principle number 1. The first one is to dream big. Now, as I said earlier on, when I was in South Africa and I saw all those guys, on their bikes, cycling, and I'm thinking, I want to do that. I want to be like that. Now, you got to remember where I started from was like zero. I didn't own a bike, much less knew how to ride one. But I really do believe that part of your journey in terms of achieving and never giving up is to dream big. And one of the principles I've picked up over the years, and I love this saying, and I'm still trying to find out who the original source is, but the quote says, if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. Now let me repeat that. If the dream is big enough, the facts simply do not count. And I find personally that when I have little bitty goals or dreams, that I may not necessarily be motivated because it's not challenging enough. It's not something that would push me beyond my limits or challenge me as a person. So I really do believe that your first step and the first principle is really to have a goal or a dream, and a really big one. Something that you'll get your teeth stuck into, and something that will keep you motivated over a long period of time. Now, you know yourself and you know what you're able to do. For some people, it might be that little goal or dream that they need to start off with, and that's fine. But for others, you might want to challenge yourself and put yourself into a more challenging, give yourself a more challenging goal. So for example, I mentioned last year that when I did the Prudential 46 miles, I decided, you know what, next year I saw all these big boys and girls, doing, the 100 miles. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do 100 miles. Now, did I know how I was going to do 100 miles? No. Have I cycled 100 miles? In fact, at that point, I think the maximum I'd done is 56 miles. And that was hard for a newbie, somebody who'd never cycled before. But I decided I was going to set myself a really big, challenging goal, something to keep me motivated and keep me working towards for the next year. And that's how I ended up with this. So what are the benefits of dreaming big? Well, the first one is it gives you something to live for. Now, as I said, since the time I signed up for the Prudential 100, guess what? My butt's been kicked into gear, and I started, training. And, some of you may not know this, but there is a price to pay, as I said earlier on, when it comes to your goals and your dreams and trying to make sure that you achieve them and never give up on them. There is a price to pay for them. Now, one of the prices I pay is through training. And when I say training, early morning, long weekends, I do a lot. And I'll come back to that in a minute in terms of some of the actions you might need to take. But there is a price to pay that you're going to need to want to invest in yourself, in your goals. Now, again, let me go back to the benefits of dreaming and dreaming big, shall I say. The first one is about, as I said, it gives you something to live for. The second one is it keeps you going when things are tough. Now, I remember when I was doing that 80-mile hike the other time, a few weeks ago, I tell you, it was like 33 plus degrees, the hottest day of the year. Even the roads, in some of the country roads I was cycling, the roads were melting. That's how hot it was. And there's me on my bike, just, keep going and keep going. But you know what? I had the end in mind. My goal was I needed to finish this race and finish it well. Because at that point, especially when you're halfway through, I couldn't really come off and get a taxi home. That wasn't an option for me. It's like, you're going to finish this, and you are going to finish this, and you're going to do it well. Forget about the times. You are just going to finish this. You're going to get back to the finishing line. And that's one of the things that I noticed that goals and thinking big does. When you think big and have really big goals, it keeps you going, even when things are difficult. And trust me, on that 80-mile hike, there were times when why did I do this? Can I get out of this? But anyway, so it keeps you going. Number 2. Another benefit of dreaming big is it motivates you when you're getting weary. And I think I mentioned that just now. Sometimes when you are struggling, when you are finding it difficult, maybe you're facing obstacles. For example, let me give you an example. This is a true story, right? On one of my training jaunts, on a Saturday morning, Saturday or Sundays, I'll normally do anything from 40, 50 miles as a way of just part of my training program. Cycling, by the way. And one day I was cycling down, as most of you know, I live in the country, cycling down, country road. All of a sudden, there's a cow literally in my way. At first, I thought it was a bull because it started, steam started coming out of his nose, and it didn't help that I had red on as well on that morning. So it was a battle, this battle off between me and this cow. The cow refused to move out of the way, and I was like, you know what? I've got a goal. I need to do my 45 miles today or whatever it was. So I am cycling. So I started inching towards this cow, and the cow, all of a sudden it developed this fear and started to run in another direction. True story, I tell you. But the cow decided it wasn't gonna stay my way, and it was gonna go. And that's how I continued with my journey. But that is a funny story, but that's an example of some of the things that can actually become an obstruction in your way. Now, you may not have a cow in your way. In your case, it might be finances. In your case, it might be constraints of time. It might be all sorts of things. Whatever your situation is, you will always find a way around a goal that you are passionate about. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what mountain you're facing or even a cow in your road, but you can find a way. And I think I posted earlier on, I think it was yesterday. If you look at my Facebook page and my profile, you'll see a quote that I put on there that says that pioneers never quit. All they do is find creative ways around the situation to make their goals a reality. Now, the challenge is now down to you. What will you do, despite what you might be facing, to make a way around the challenge you might be facing? You may not have a cow in your road like I did. You may not have the fact that you're new in that industry or new in that field. Whatever that situation is there is always a way around it. And it's about thinking creatively how you can move yourself forward. So again, finding ways around your obstacles that when you're trying to achieve your goals. So the final benefit I wanted to share about dreaming big is it helps you keep momentum when you are unsure or even when you're alone. Now, when I was doing that cycle a couple of weeks ago, there were times where there was no signage on the road. Now, it's not to say that they didn't sign it properly. They did, but the distance between the last sign and the sign where, and the next sign was so great that at one point I'm thinking, did I take the wrong turn? Should I be going the wrong way? What should I be doing? And then also there are times, so you kind of become unsure and you're not sure whether you should, turn left, turn right or whatnot. So again, challenges we face along these journeys, it's about, regardless of whether there's signs or not, the fact that you have your goal here and your heart's desires here, you're going to keep going. You're going to find a way to keep going. And by the way, on some of that journey that I did on the 80 miles, there were times I was cycling alone. I can't remember how many miles I was cycling where there was not one human being, apart from cows and sheep in the field. There wasn't anybody to support me on that journey. And you know what? Sometimes when you are trying to achieve your goals, you will find that you are flying solo. And you know what? It's not a bad thing. Carry on with your journey and keep going, because you know what? You are going to achieve your goals because it's something that you're passionate about. So let me rephrase that. Regardless of whether you're flying solo or whether you are struggling or whatever it is, your dream, your goal, your big goal will keep you going regardless of what you're facing. And so that's why it's really important that you dream big, because those dreams will continually drive you forward and push you forward. So those are the benefits of dreaming big. So the first principle I did share was dreaming big. Now, bounce back pioneer principle number 2 is keep hope alive. Now, to do that, book Bounce Back, there's lots of nuggets in here. By all means, have a read. But in chapter 5, I talk about getting back into the saddle. And one of the things, or actually chapter 6, tell a lie, chapter 6 talks about developing a bounce back hero mindset. Now, I really do believe that as individuals, I'm a firm believer that deep-seated hope has nothing to do with what you see, as in your realities, but it's about what you have on the inside of you and what you believe as a person. Now, let me read something to you. So principle number 2, just in case you're writing something down, principle number 2 is keeping hope alive. So principle number 1 is dreaming big. Principle number 2 is keeping home alive. As I said, I'm just reading an excerpt from chapter 6 of the book, and I am a firm believer that deep-seated hope really has nothing to do with the situation that you're facing. Hope rises above the situation you're facing and gives you an assurance of a better future. It's the basis of the very thing that we desire and we look forward to, believing that things will turn out better in the end, regardless of what we're facing right now. Now, I love a particular scripture. I always like to throw in scripture quotes in there as well. And one of the scriptures I mentioned in the book is Hebrews 11:1. Now, most of you will probably know this in one shape or form, but the Amplified Version says, now faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for, being the proof of things we do not see, and the conviction of their reality. So faith perceived as real, as a real fact, which is not revealed. So let me read that again. So now faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for, being the proof of things we do not see, and the conviction of their reality. Faith perceiving as real facts what is not revealed in the senses. So in simple terms, it's basically saying hope underpinned by faith is believing something that you can't actually see. Now, this is where the challenge is for some of us here, because sometimes we want to see things happen before we believe them. But in actual fact, it doesn't happen, or it doesn't always happen that way. And that's why I'm really passionate about minds and souls, or should I say mind, souls, and hearts too. Because if your dream or your goal is not planted and rooted in your heart, and if your mind is not aligned with your goal and where you want to achieve, guess what? It's not going to happen. It really is not going to happen. So it's really about building your hope of the future, regardless of what you're actually seeing right now. So that was principle number 2. Principle number 2 is keeping hope alive. Keeping hope alive. And as I said, I read an excerpt from chapter 6 of the book Bounce Back. Okay, so principle number 3. Change your perspective. Now, this is crucial for everybody. A number of us sometimes, in terms of our outlooks in life, we have this mindset. In fact, we fall into two categories. You either think the cup is half full or the cup is half empty. Now, depending on where you think as an individual, it's going to have an impact on you achieving your goals. So and I really do believe that half the battle is really in your mind. So unless you deal with that issue, you're going to keep tripping up on your goals and you're never going to achieve them. And I know that sounds negative, but you're going to struggle achieving them if you don't get your mind reorientated around the possibilities with your goal. So here's something I just wanted to throw at you. So if half the battle is in your mind, where are you today, right now? How do you view life as a person? And are you a person who sees the cup half full or half empty? Where do you see yourself today? And if it's half empty, I'm going to encourage you to really do something about that, because you're going to struggle with achieving your goals, and you're going to struggle achieving them and achieving them well. So you might start off okay, but you may not finish it, because you might be consumed by seeing things in either a negative or a pessimistic kind of mindset. Whereas if you see the cup half full, you're likely to take a more optimistic, positive view of your goals. So everything you do in life and every step you take or even don't take hinges on your underlying belief systems, or whether you see yourself achieving it or not. And I love Henry quotes. I love Henry Ford, shall I even say? Henry Ford. I love his quote. He says, if you think you can do a thing, or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. Now, let me repeat that. If you think you can do a thing, or you think you can't do a thing, you are right. So if you think you can do it, guess what? You're right. If you think you can't do it, guess what? You're right. And if you think you can't do it, you're not going to do it. So anytime any form of doubt comes in your mind, guess what? You're going to struggle, and it's going to be difficult for you to move forward. Now, I love another scripture quote from the Bible that says in Proverbs 23, for as he thinks, so is he. So another way of putting it is, as a man thinks, so is he. So if you think, just like Henry Ford said, if you think you can do it, hey, guess what? You are going to do it. If you think you can't do it, you won't achieve it. So really, it's about looking at your mindsets, because your mindsets, your belief systems underpin your behaviors. So if your mindsets and your belief systems are saying, I can't do this, this is impossible, I've never done this before, and it's never going to happen, nobody around me is going to do it, has ever done this before, and I'm going to struggle, guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen. You will struggle. But if you decide, okay, you know what? I may not have been this way before. I haven't done this before. I am going to achieve this. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to make something out of this. You're going to achieve it. So your mindsets will underpin your behaviors. So if you find yourself not achieving your goals, or not maintaining your goals, or not finishing well, because I do believe about finishing well. If you're struggling with those areas, you might want to revisit what's going on in here. What dialogues are you having with yourself in your head or in your mind? What are you telling yourself? Are you saying to yourself, go getter, I'm a champion, I can do all things? What are you saying to yourself? If you're saying, oh God, I can't do this, I can't be arsed, guess what? You're not going to be able to do that. So you might want to watch out for your mental dialogues, the dialogues that go on in your head, and remind yourself, actually, I can do this. And I love a scripture in the Bible again that says, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. Now, trust me, that was what I was saying time and time again when I was on that bike ride, that 80-mile bike ride in the grueling heat. I was saying, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I made sure that regardless of the hills I was facing, the challenges I was facing, the heat, the dehydration, the tiredness, and all the other things that was going on, I kept telling myself, regardless of what you're facing, you're going to do this. You're going to do this regardless of what's going on. Forget the facts around you. You're going to make this. And remember, for those of you who joined us recently on this session, I mentioned a quote earlier on that says, if the dream is big enough, the facts simply don't count. So if the dream is big enough, the facts really do not count. So it's about changing your mindset and moving forward. So that's the principle number 3 I was going to share with you about changing your mindset. And just a little tip here, as I said, Coach G says, you know what, listen out for your thoughts and your mindsets and what's going on, because you really need to make sure that they are aligned with your goals. You really need to make sure they are synced. So what's going on here needs to be synced with what's going on here, or else it just becomes a wish list, it just becomes something you talk about, and it never, ever happens. By the way, that's not a negative confession, that's just a reality. Ask anybody who's achieved anything. If they thought they weren't going to be able to achieve it, they wouldn't be achievers as we know them today. But I believe that you are a pioneer, that you will find a creative way of making things work and making things happen, and so that you never, ever have to give up on your goals or your dreams. Now, principle number 4 is deal wisely with life's uphill moments. So deal wisely with life's uphill moments. Now, the reality is we all experience moments in life where I call them when life happens moments. You don't plan for them, you don't prepare for them, but hey ho, they come and invade your life. And sometimes some of our journeys in life include uphill struggles. Now, I can tell you about that because I've climbed a few hills on the bike and it is not easy sometimes. But you know what? You can make it regardless of whatever the hill you're facing. No matter how big or how long or how arduous that hill that you might be facing is you can achieve that. And trust me, it's always a struggle, even when I'm cycling. But again, the mindsets, the goals, the desire that I keep here and keep here, keep me going regardless of what I'm facing. So the trick is to learn how to navigate through life with your goals, but keeping in mind that yes, there might be uphill struggles, but you're going to find a creative way of getting around it. Now, remember, I said pioneers never quit. What pioneers do is find creative ways around the things that they're trying to achieve. So here's how I dealt with some of my uphill moments in life. And I use my cycling analogy to do that. I see some other people have joined. Sandra, welcome on board. Stuart, great to have you on board as well. So here's what I did when I'm facing some of the hills when I'm cycling. Now, by the way, I may talk a lot about cycling, hence the gear and getting myself ready for my Prudential 100 ride. But let me just, share something with you. All the principles I'm sharing with you, I apply them to other areas of my life. So it's not just about cycling. I'm using my cycling analogy because that's what I'm passionate about at the moment, but it's not just for cycling, it's for any area of your life. So this is how I deal with when I'm on a hill and I'm trying to deal with an uphill struggle. So first and foremost, okay, so imagine me on this hill. Now I've done some hills before. In a few weeks' time, I've got to deal with Leith Hill and Box Hill, both in Dorking, Surrey somewhere. Some of you, if you Google it, Leith Hill and Box Hill, you will know that those in my world are mountains. They are not hills. Somebody lied. Okay. But I've done some practice runs on them. And the reason why I did that is because I knew that the hills were coming in the race I'm going to take in a few weeks' time. So I went to put myself out there and give myself the opportunity to practice, to see what it feels like. So I'm not daunted on that, on the actual ride itself. So, I can't remember what mileage, at what point on that journey. I think it might be around between 50 and 60, or even 70 miles. I can't remember. But somewhere on that journey, I have to face those two hills. Now, if you put that back in principle into your life experiences and your goals and your dreams and what you're trying to achieve, how do you brace yourself or prepare yourself to climb those uphill moments? Because they're going to come. Again, this is not a negative statement. It's a reality. You are going to face uphill struggles in whatever it is that you're facing. So how do you make your way on top of those hills? How do you get over it? Now, I mentioned earlier on that I did some practice runs, but you know what? In life, sometimes you don't always have practice runs. You don't have the opportunity to go and practice before. In fact, perhaps maybe you've done an exam and you failed it and you're going to do it again. You've had a practice run, but sometimes you don't always have a practice run. So here's what I do when I find myself on an uphill moment. First thing foremost I do is I focus my eyes and my heart on the end goal. I do not keep my eyes on that huge mountain ahead of me, because you know what, sometimes it can discourage you. It can, seriously. Sometimes when I'm cycling and I see another hill, some of my cycling buddies know this. When I see another hill, it's like I tut and I grumble and I complain, because it's like, ugh! Because it's effort going up a hill. And plus, on my derriere, oh my gosh, it hurts. Okay, so, sometimes uphill journeys can be quite challenging. But what I tend to do is I focus my eyes, my heart, and even my mind on the end, the pinnacle, the top. I don't focus on anything else, just the top. I need to keep my eyes on the top. The second thing I do is rather than going on, focusing on the future, or when I say the future, as in trying to get to the top and trying to reach the top, I forget all of that. All I do is I am present in the moment. So when I'm on my bike, I sit on that bike and I just take it step by step, step by step, and step by step. So forget about the future, where I want to get to. I know I have to get to the top of the hill. Forget all that. I'm present in the moment. And some people might even call that mindfulness. In fact, there's a whole, lots of books and resources around mindfulness. It's about forgetting, the future so far ahead. I mean, I used to, think so far in ahead, but I learned a strategy a long time ago that helped me focus in the moment. So when I'm on my bike, I am just putting one foot down after the other. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. Because when you're on that hill, the last thing you want to do is stop. Because guess what? You are going backwards. You are going to find yourself going in the opposite direction. So for me, it's about keep going, step at a time, one step at a time. Now, another thing that I do when I'm facing an uphill moment, and I use a cycling analogy for this, I don't get too caught up on, I don't get too caught up on, as I said, the end. Here's what I do. I set myself little milestones. So when I'm on a long road, and sometimes some of my cycling trips are on very long roads or even hills, sometimes one of the ways of me getting over the challenges of getting up that hill is I set myself little milestones. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what, Grace? We're going to aim for that lamppost just there. That lamppost, nothing else. Aim for the lamppost. Okay, so I get to the lamppost and it's like, yay, I got to the lamppost. Okay, so what's next? You're going to get to the next tree, that oak tree in the future, that oak tree a few yards away. That's what you're going to do. So the next one, then I cycle step by step. So I get to the oak tree. And when I get to the oak tree, guess what? I'm that much further on my journey, on that uphill. So you know what? I look at the next milestone and the next milestone and the next milestone. And before you know it, guess what? I'm at the top. It's not because I had superpowers, even though I believe I had a dollop of the Holy Spirit. Because God had to help me in all those trips. And in anything I do, I really do believe that God has helped me achieve everything. I am nothing in my own self. I cannot do it by myself. But I receive a dollop of the grace that I need to get me through that journey. But remember, as I said, I don't get too caught up with the top. I focus on the moment by moment steps, or in my case, revolutions I'm making on that bike. That's the key thing, step by step. I keep my mind on the top in terms of I know I need to reach the top and that's where I need to get to. And that's one of the things that keeps me going. I don't get too focused on, oh, I need to get to the top. No. We take it step at a time and I'm present in the moment. And you know what? When I get to those bitter points, I then celebrate. So I may not be able to jump off my bike and do a little jig, my little cycling jig and say, yay, you go, Grace. But you know what? In my head, it's like, you've done it. You can do it. Now let's bring this back into your world. You might have a book that you're trying to write or a business you're trying to start or whatever it is, or maybe you're going for a promotion at work. Again, the principles are the same. You know what you need to achieve, whether it be start a business, start a lifelong goal, become fitter, lose weight, trust me. That's a great goal to have. And that's why I started cycling. Hence, I'm now like a size 8, 10 from a 14. Yay. It works. Anyway, so some of the things that I've, so going back to your world, what are some of the little bite-sized steps that you can take to help you achieve your goal and to help you maintain momentum so that you don't give up on your goal and your dream? So that might be something for you to think about right now, or maybe after this session, but it's about thinking about the little steps you can take. So for example, I have many women over the years say to me, oh, I want to write a book. And I've helped a lot of women write their books. But how do you write a book? You take one step at a time by writing something on paper or in your computer. It's a no-brainer. You just have to write. Okay, so there's a saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. It's as simple as that. It's taking a step at a time, but also remembering to celebrate your success. Now, that was something I never used to do for myself many years ago, and I just found that goals just became a drudgery until I really started celebrating my accomplishments. Now, here's how I do that. For example, when I finish writing the book and I have it published, I buy myself a gift, because you know what, girlfriend, I'm worth it. I've put so many hours, sweat, blood into all those things. So I give myself a reward. And you know, whenever I achieve something, I make sure that I build in time to celebrate that success. And that, for me personally, keeps me not just going on that particular goal, but keeps me going for future goals, because I know there is a reward for myself after that time. Now, I'm not looking for other people to reward me. I'm talking about rewarding myself. So again, it's about putting things in place to support you, to keep that momentum, even on the uphill moments of life, because you will face them, but it's about how you navigate around them or over them, and with what's going to help you achieve your goal. So here's my question to you. This is how we've talked about life uphill moments. Now over to you. How have you tried to navigate around life's uphill moments in the past? Okay, that's a question for you to think about. Are you one of those people you kind of do you get to the bottom of the hill and think, nah, this is too difficult, I'm not going to do this? Or are you one of those people who thinks you get kind of partway on the journey thinking, nah, this is too hard, I'm going to give up? Or are you one of those people who just keeps persevering all the way, gradually, slowly, until you reach the top of your hill? That's really where you want to be. Not focusing on the bigness of the hill at the very beginning, and not stopping halfway through that hill, but waiting to make sure that you get to the top by any means necessary. That's my philosophy. You reach the top by any means necessary. Good, of course. I'm not talking about breaking the rules or breaking the law, but you must reach your top and you must get to the top. So that was principle number 4, about dealing wisely with life's uphill moments, because life's uphill moments will come, and it's about how you deal with them. Now, the last principle, it's a shame we're coming to an end. It's the last principle. The last principle is feel the pain, but do it anyway. Now, some of you probably read the book, Feel the Fear, but Do It Anyway. Now, here's my little twist on that. Feel the pain and do it anyway. Now, I say pain because, yes, when I'm cycling, goodness gracious me, especially on long distances, and, you know, sometimes when I'm getting up to some steep hills, it can be painful on the derriere. It can be. Most cyclists will tell you that, you know what, it can be challenging when you're cycling and you're on mile 50, mile 60, and it's like, goodness, my derriere is just like hurting right now. But you know what? I say, feel the pain, but carry on anyway. And you know what? Here's a little trick that I did. When I was cycling, when I did the 80 miles the other day, one of the things I think about mile 15, you know, I started to feel that pain. It's like, no, I've got 65 miles to go. I am not entertaining any pain right now. And so I started to sing, and I was making random songs, and in fact, I composed a song. Who knows, I might share that with you in the future. But I actually composed a song, and in doing that, I focused my mind on the journey and my goal of 80 miles, and not the pain in my derriere. And you know what? It worked, because by mile 20, I forgot all about it. I was cycling, and I just kept going, and I just kept going and going and going. It was only when I got to the end I thought, oh, you know, I haven't got that pain. So, you know, so it does help. It's what you focus your mind on has a real impact on you achieving your goals. So let me share with you some of the things that I've done to help me achieve some of my goals, in particular around, you know, the cycling era. So training. Now, training, I cannot emphasize the importance of training. Now, some of the things that I did, hey Lisa, hey Bola, it's great to have you on board. So some of the trainings that I've done in the last year or so has been so grueling sometimes. Here's some of the things that I do. I'd wake up early in the morning. Now, sometimes I might be out on the road by 5 o'clock, 5:30. In fact, as soon as the sun's out in the summer, the chances are I'm on my bike. And if I'm not able to make a morning ride, I will go out there and cycle in the evening, or we'll take a lunch break and just get my kit on and cycle for an hour as a way to de-stress. But one of the things I do is I cycle. Now on weekends, I do longer rides. Now and I also do lots of other things. For example, I go to the gym, so I build up my legs. I do a whole raft of other things like spinning classes. Most of you know that I'm a spinner at heart. In fact, I started spinning about 10 years ago, and I always dreamt of being on the road. And so, you know what? You know what, one of the things I've started to do is keep going, training and training myself. So I can't overemphasize the importance of training when it comes to your goals and never giving up. It really does help build muscle, whether it be physical muscle, whether it be spiritual muscle, whether it be endurance muscle. It really does help in terms of building muscle. And another thing I tend to do is forgetting the realities of the present. Like I said, when I did that 80-mile race, it was hot. It was 32, 33 degrees, if not higher. There was so much going on, and it was really difficult for me. But you know what? Perseverance, my mindset, and the things, my goal really kept me going, regardless of what was going on. Also, I mentioned this earlier on, is being prepared to cycle solo. There's sometimes I have to train by myself, I have to cycle by myself, even though I love having all my, my cycling buddies around me. Sometimes I'm not able to, to go out with my buddies. So therefore, I have to learn that endurance and doing it by myself as well. Oh, and the last one I was going to mention in terms of taking action, even though it hurts. Now, this is a real story. I have lost track of how many times I've fallen off my bike. Now, I'm not here to scare anybody, but especially in the early days, when I was still trying to learn how to cycle, and I have the scars to prove it, falling over. I think it happened about 2 or 3 times. But you know what? Despite the pain, I got up again. Now, one of the things that you'll probably realize is, just like, and let me use the analogy of a young child. Now, a young child who is learning to walk, the chances are, and you've probably seen this before, they always fall down. Whether it be the first step, second step, time after time, they tend to fall down, even though, they're learning to walk. But have you noticed with every child learning to walk, have you ever noticed any child sit on the floor after falling the first, second or third time, sit on the floor, throw a tantrum and say, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore. Walking is too hard. I can't do this. Have you ever seen that? The chances are you never have. Every child who has fallen gets back up again and tries to, to waddle a little around. They might get on their knees for a little while. They might do whatever it is they need to do, but you find that they keep getting back up. Now, I really do believe that there's a fantastic, phenomenal lesson to be learned by just watching a child learning to walk. And, for me, that's the epitome of never giving up. Just constantly moving one step at a time. And if you fall, guess what? You've fallen, you get up again, and you keep moving. And so for me, that is really the strategy of moving yourself forward. So in closing, and yes, we have to close. In closing, I'm hoping that some of my strategies that I've shared with you from my cycling days has really helped you in terms of moving yourself forward. One thing I learnt is that when you have a dream, just never, ever give up on it. Even when people are telling you to give up on it, when the circumstances look bleak, when things look challenging, where you feel you've tried everything under the sun and it ain't working. Pardon my English, it ain't working. But, keep going. Don't quit. What I sometimes do is when I'm struggling with something, I might just give myself a break, have a pause. I'll pray about it, I'll just think about it. And in that time, not only do I refresh myself and rejuvenate myself and the dream and the goal that I'm trying to achieve, but what tends to happen is I gain new strength. And that happens to me time and time again, especially on those cycling rides. And I'm thinking, Lord, I need help. I can't do this right now. I need your help. And you know what? I always get wind beneath my wings. Always. Unfailingly. So if you're struggling with something and you're thinking of giving up, perhaps to press the pause button and just take some time out, refresh yourself, do something different, then come back to it with fresh eyes, fresh hope, fresh perspective, fresh insight, fresh creativity, and a dollop of the Holy Spirit. It works for me. Okay, so in closing, I just want to remind you of the 5 principles. Principle number 1, dream big. Principle number 2, keep hope alive regardless of what you're facing. Principle number 3, change your perspective. So if you're thinking cup half empty, think half full and think of the possibilities that are out there. Principle number 4, deal wisely with your uphill moments. Remember, I spent some time talking about that. We all face uphill moments in life. It's how you navigate that and how you get up that's really going to support you. And principle number 5, feel the pain and do it anyway. And I'm hoping today, some of the things that I've shared with you has really helped you. Just give me little tips or insights using my cycling analogies. But as I said, I use these principles in every area of my life, writing, speaking, whatever it is. Whenever I'm facing a new challenge, a new goal, a new dream, I use the same principles to help me. And I make sure that I put the systems in place to support myself so I never give up. And another thing that I haven't mentioned, but it's crucial. In fact, when you get the book Bounce Back, it's quite crucial to make sure that you have a support network around you to keep you going, to say, go Tiger, you can do this, keep going, cheering you along the way. Now, I remember when I first started cycling, and I was like so slow. When I say slow, I mean so slow. You know what? And I was cycling with a group, and bless them, thanks you guys for bearing with me. But they would wait for me ahead, they'll go ahead of me and wait for me, or they'll just keep going. In fact, one time, I believe Mr. Rob, it was, and some of the other guys, they were pushing me along the hill, like, you can do this. Sometimes they'll cycle by me and say, come on, you can do it, change gears, do this, do that, have a drink, have something to eat. They were giving me tips. So having people around you is a really great way of helping you maintain the momentum around keep going. But I really want to encourage you, get the support you need. Better still, get the book, Bounce Back. Go into my website, www.gladysf.com. I'll share the link. Get yourself the book. There's a lot of strategies in there as how I've helped, how I've achieved great things. There's a lot of strategies out there that I've used to coach people, mentor people, and develop people over the last 22 years or thereabouts. There are strategies in there that I've picked up from other people, like some of my heroes, like Nelson Mandela. What kept his goals and his dream alive 27 years despite being in a prison. I share lots of stories in the book Bounce Back, in terms of how to keep going. So the book Bounce Back is about how to survive, thrive, and maximize challenging life situations. Now, your goal is a challenging life situation, so why not invest in yourself? It's only $9.99. Go on my website or Amazon, get yourself a copy, and bounce back and bounce back strong, and don't give up on your hopes. Now, for the ladies in the house, just want to say this before we go. I have the Overcoming Emotional Baggage Women's Conference. Actually, it's not the conference, it's the Women's Retreat, weekend retreat coming up soon, 15th to the 17th of September. If you want to learn a lot about some of the things I've been sharing about today, but more in particular, dealing with the emotional baggage, and that's why we've called it Overcoming Emotional Baggage for Women's Retreat, weekend retreat. If you want to deal with unforgiveness, disappointment, all sorts of issues dealing with past hurt, shame, guilt, rejection, and all the other stuff that we kind of carry around with us, including our unresolved issues. If that's something that you want to, to get help with in an intimate group of women with myself and another great speaker, my mother, bless her, fantastic woman of God. If that's something you want to do, by all means, check out the link on my Facebook page and profile. I'll add some more information on there. Go onto the web page. In fact, you can go onto gladysf.com, and then from there, go onto the events page and you see the information about it. But you really need to be here. It's an awesome event. It's a life-changing event. And very soon, I'm going to be interviewing one of the previous attendees, Ruth Pearson, who came along a few years ago. Now, this woman has just soared all the way. Sky has not been the limits for this lady. Her life has changed. She's written 2 books since the retreat. She's been healed physically, healed emotionally, and she is doing phenomenal stuff. She's a speaker. She's doing great stuff. Ruth, kudos to you. So if that's where you're at and you want to learn more and get support, I don't do this often, but I do like to every so often get women together and support them in terms of dealing with life challenges. If that's where you're at, and if you want to get support dealing with, as I said, hurts, unresolved issues, emotional baggage, negative emotions, fear, guilt, disappointment, shame, rejection, and everything else that I've written about in the book, Overcoming Emotional Baggage, or Quit Hiding, Start Living, by all means, come along. The early bird finishes on the 16th, so you haven't got long to go. If you're a bargain hunter and want to save yourself some money, go on the website. I'll put the link in afterwards, and then you can have a read at that. But till then, until the next time, By all means, stay tuned. By all means, you can click the subscribe button. So if you click the button, you'll be alerted when I'm doing these sessions again. Stay tuned. But in the meantime, never give up on your goal, because you know what? You are worth it. So take care. God bless. And share the video, share the posts, and go onto the website. There's lots of information on there, the blogs. And stay tuned until the next one. Take care. God bless you. Bye. God bless you. Bye.